Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So, we are going to be starting the week off with an Xbox leak that I think is actually pretty exciting. Now, there is some speculation when it comes to this leak, but in terms of the possibilities, this is where I think it gets really exciting. So we're going to talk about that one here in a little bit. And then also, Sony did deny a controversial report that was circulating earlier this year about the PlayStation 4 and its continued production. So we're going to go over that one here in a little bit as well. To start the video off, though, we're actually going to be talking about that Chrono remaster yet again. This is something that we continue to hear about, and this dates back to last year where several rumors and leaks did start to point towards this Chrono remaster. Though at the time, it was widely believed to be announced in December. This was because a musician that had supposedly been working on a big PlayStation remake, well, she said this game was going to be announced in December, but lo and behold, we never got that announcement. So for a lot of people, they kind of gave up hope that this just probably wasn't going to happen, but well, the story does continue on. Yes, it's now been spotted that the Chrono Cross composer is actually teasing a reveal for sometime next month. This was over on Twitter where Yasunori Mitsuda had this to say. Thank you so much for the birthday messages. I'm sorry I couldn't reply to each person. This thank you will be returned to you in the work. At the earliest, if you are lucky, we will announce the first one next month, so please look forward to it. So he is teasing some kind of reveal here, though he says hopefully so nothing is necessarily confirmed just yet. But this has once again led a lot of fans to speculate that maybe that Chrono Cross remaster rumor is actually true after all. I mean, there was a lot of leaks surrounding this game, and now we're also hearing that he might actually be revealing something sometime here, so maybe. At the same time, though, I don't want anybody to get their hopes up too much because there's no confirmation as to what's going to happen. He could very well be teasing a completely different project for all we know, so just kind of temper your expectations a little bit, but I am with you all. I do hope that this is indeed true. I will say this, though, if they were going to be revisiting this franchise once again, I would actually prefer a Chrono Trigger remake or remaster because, I mean, that's one of the most beloved games of all time, so I would have preferred that, but even then, Chrono Cross is still a good game, and hey, let's kind of just see what happens here. Next up, let's talk about Elden Ring, which is one of the most anticipated games for the entire year, and really you could say that about last year as well because Elden Ring has received various delays. But that's where things get really exciting because this game is supposed to release next month on February 25th. Yes, the wait is finally almost over, and the really good news here is that From Software did do a pretty lengthy interview. I will leave a link to that in the description below. It's a 46-minute long interview where they talked a lot about this game and all of the different details, but one thing that they did note here is that Elden Ring has officially gone gold, and what this means is that more than likely Elden Ring will not be delayed anymore. It does seem like that February 25th release date is pretty much set in stone now. I really only know one game that announced that they had gone gold and actually delayed it afterwards, and that was Cyberpunk 2077, and we kind of all know how that game turned out at launch. It could have probably used yet another delay, really, but here we did have them confirm that Elden Ring has officially gone gold, and this is where I think fans can really start to get excited because they will be able to play this game next month. They did also talk about a lot of other things in this interview, though I do highly encourage you to check it out yourself if you just cannot wait to play this game, but they did talk about the story component when it comes to Elden Ring, and I thought this was particularly interesting because one of the big selling points for Elden Ring is that it's a collaboration between George R.R. Martin and From Software. Though, how did this collaboration actually work? Well, they did actually say here that From Software did write the main story themselves, but George R.R. Martin, he actually wrote the backstory and the distant past of the Elden Ring world. And this is something that he does, quite frankly, excel at. I mean, we can kind of talk about how long he takes to write, but he does do a good job at writing a history for his universes, and I think that that will really benefit Elden Ring here. In fact, they do also mention that this is the richest and most detailed world when it comes to any From Software game to date. They did also state that it would take about 30 hours to complete the game, and then if you want to do the side stuff as well, it would take dozens of more hours to complete. So yeah, Elden Ring is definitely sounding really exciting, and yeah, let's look forward to next month on February 25th. Okay, so let's go and talk about Xbox today, as we do have another leak to talk about, which this one's actually really exciting, which I'll kind of get into here in just a moment. But this one is coming from Special Nick over on the Xbox Era podcast. Now, he didn't exactly go into great detail here, but he did say just enough to kind of generate some excitement and kind of talk about all the different possibilities as to exactly what this could mean. And that is that he is right now hearing that Microsoft is working on another collection of games that will kind of get that Master Chief Collection treatment. Now, I personally believe that the Master Chief Collection is actually one of the best collections in all of gaming, and I think that the further we've gotten out from that release, the more that has started to ring true. Now, I know when it first launched, it did have some connection issues, but they did since fix that up, and it includes Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary. It includes Halo 2 Anniversary, which they completely remade for this collection, especially with the cinematics. And then there's Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, Halo 4, as well as Halo Reach. So this is a premier collection of games. So to hear another one of their franchises is going to be getting that Master Chief Collection treatment, that is actually really exciting. Though that's the question. What exactly is going to be this franchise? And I think that the easy assumption here is going to be Gears of War or Fable. Those are two beloved Xbox IP that could very easily benefit from a Master Chief Collection type of treatment, especially Gears of War, which fans have been asking for a long time. A lot of people have been asking for a Marcus Phoenix collection, as you will, being Gears of War 1, 2, and 3. And I do think that that does actually make perfect sense. Now, I have seen some people kind of point out that you already have the Gears Ultimate Edition, then Gears 2, as well as Gears 3. They actually got a 4K 60 frames per second update, which basically makes them a remaster already. But, and this is what I'm just going to kind of throw out there, as I said before, a big part of that Master Chief Collection was the inclusion of the Halo 2 Anniversary. This was a remake of the first game, and they also brought over Blur to work on the cinematics, and they could do something similar here with Gears 2, and then maybe even Gears 3. I mean, can you imagine them possibly doing a remake of both Gears 2 and Gears 3? Now, I am a massive fan of the Gears of War franchise, so to me, that sounds incredibly exciting. To get a remake of Gears 2 and Gears 3 and then also bring back the multiplayer portion with a refreshed look, I think a lot of fans, myself included, would absolutely love that. Though, is that actually the collection that we're talking about here? Because yes, the other franchise that a lot of fans have been speculating on is maybe a possible Fable collection. They do have that new Fable game coming out, so maybe they could do a collection of Fable games heading up to that release. Though, it doesn't quite stop there, because I'm going to go and throw this one out here. This is another one that fans have been asking for quite a few years now, and that would be a Banjo 1 and Banjo 2 remake. I mean, we were actually talking about this a lot last week with the Activision Blizzard acquisition, and the possibility that maybe one of those Activision studios such as Toys for Bob could do a Banjo 1 and 2 remake, but maybe they already have a game like that in development. Who's to say that they don't? I'm not saying that they do, but I mean, that is a very exciting collection if that were to be the case. And I've said this for years now, it just makes sense to do a remake of Banjo 1 and 2. We've seen the Crash Bandicoot trilogy come back and have a lot of success. You had the Spyro Reignited trilogy, and just remakes in general seem to be very popular right now. And Banjo-Kazooie has really been up in limbo for years now. Now, we know that Rare doesn't exactly want to work on a new Banjo-Kazooie game, but what they could do is have a different studio to work on a remake of those first two games, and I think that that would definitely have a lot of fans excited, and if they do well enough, then you could of course bring a Banjo 3. Of course, all that's just speculation, but that's kind of the thing, because there's actually a lot of different franchises that Xbox could do this with, because they have the Quake franchise, there's the Fallout franchise, the Elder Scrolls, Doom, Wolfenstein. You kind of have to realize that they do have a lot of franchises now, considering all the different acquisitions that they've made here in recent years. So it's hard to say exactly what this could be, but if I were to bet on something, I'm still going to probably say it's Gears of War. Maybe Banjo, but more than likely, I'm going to say it's Gears of War. Let's go and move on over to the PlayStation news, though, as they did deny a pretty controversial report that's been circulating here as of recent, and that is the continued production of the PlayStation 4. When you start to really think about it, I don't think that this report is nearly as controversial as what some fans kind of make it out to be, but a big part of this controversy is actually in how this report came out. And that is because Bloomberg stated that Sony is dealing with PlayStation 5 shortages by producing more PlayStation 4s. And that didn't exactly jive with fans too much because it didn't really solve anything. Yeah, you could produce more PlayStation 4s and you can sell those, but for the people looking for PlayStation 5s, more than likely they already own a PlayStation 4. So that report didn't exactly go over well with the community, and you can kind of understand why, though I did point this out last time that we talked about it. If you kind of look at the history when it comes to PlayStation, they do produce older PlayStation consoles well into the new generation. I mean, just as an example, you take a look at the PlayStation 1, and they produced that thing all the way up until 2006. The PlayStation 2 was in production all the way to 2013, and then the PlayStation 3 all the way up to 2017. So I don't really find it overly surprising that, yes, they would continue to develop the PlayStation 4. Historically, this is something that Sony has done every single generation when it comes to PlayStation. So is this really a surprise? I personally don't think so, but it was this report by Bloomberg that really sparked this controversy. They stated that Sony originally planned to discontinue the PlayStation 4, but instead decided to keep it around to offset the production problems that the PlayStation 5 has been dealing with. And that's what really got fans upset. But this is what Sony specifically denied. So here in a new interview, a Sony spokesperson did confirm that they are going to be making more PlayStation 4s, but they specifically deny that they were ever planning to end production at the end of last year. Here, the spokesperson does say there were no plans to end PlayStation 4 production at the end of last year. So this does directly contradict that report that was going around earlier this month. And as I've pointed out, I am actually enticed to believe this just because, again, Sony has historically done this in the past. I know that this is kind of a unique situation this time because we are going through a global chip shortage, but Sony has always made their old generation of consoles available well into the next generation. So I think that this is just business per usual with them. I, however, can understand the frustration of not being able to get these new consoles. I mean, these consoles have been out for well over a year now, and they're still selling out almost instantaneously. So I understand the frustration, but hopefully, that will improve throughout this year. You know, while we're talking about a Bloomberg report, we might as well go ahead and talk about the poll of the day, where I asked you all, do you think Sony will reveal local backwards compatibility for the PlayStation 3 on the PlayStation 5, meaning without streaming? This has been heavily rumored since that Bloomberg report stated that they are working on a Game Pass competitor, and it will possibly include backwards compatibility for the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and even the PlayStation Portable. Now, I have been very questionable on this report, which I'll get into here in just a moment, but I wanted to hear your all's thoughts on this situation. And as you can see here, only 19% of you said yes, while 74% of you said no. So the majority of you all aren't exactly too hopeful here, and I think that that's understandable given the situation. The PlayStation 3 is a difficult console to kind of emulate because that cell processor. I personally love the PlayStation 3. I have a lot of fond memories with all the different exclusives that came out to that console, but that console was always kind of a pain because of that cell processor, and still biting them all these years later. Now, if they find a way to emulate this on the PlayStation 5, that would be absolutely amazing. But that really is the question. Can they make this happen? And even though that Bloomberg article did state that this new service was going to have backwards compatibility for legacy consoles such as the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and the PlayStation Portable, it never actually talked about how it was going to go about achieving this. And when I read that article, what it sounded like to me is that they were going to be combining PlayStation Plus with PlayStation Now. And that is important because one of the key features for PlayStation Now is that it can stream PlayStation 3 games. So I do think that that begs the question, will these PlayStation 3 games be played locally, or will they be streamed as we currently see them now over on PlayStation Now? Now, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation Portable games, those seem to be a little bit more likely to get that local emulation, but I think with the PlayStation 3 in specific, that's where a lot of the questions are going to sit. Can they actually make that happen? And that's where I want to see that official reveal before I kind of get my hopes up too much. I'm hoping that we can get all these games locally played on the PlayStation 5, but yeah, hopefully we will get the official reveal sometime here soon so we can have all of our questions definitively answered. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.